Hey everyone, it's March 26th. Matt, how are you today?
So much better than yesterday.
Getting a little rested.
Yeah. Um, really, it's just I had a Dave and I got our first shot yesterday, and it was really easy. And the only thing is, I mean, it's only a little tender here, and I can push on it, and it feels fine. Um, and it feels more like I walk. You know, like when you walk into the corner of something, and maybe a few hours later, you're like, oh, that's as much as it is, and then just really fatigued. But I feel fatigue probably a lot more than most people. So when you add anything to that, I can barely stand up. David's been tired, but I think he's been more manageable.
Yeah.
But we slept from noon to almost 5 o'clock yesterday, but we were also woken up really early after about 3-4 hours because of our cat because she's a jerk. And then, but
Oh,
last
those
night
cats.
I slept a lot and I didn't really move very much last night and then slept most of the night and I fell asleep, fell back asleep at 3:30. I mean, I laid down and I was gone in a minute. And I woke up at noon. Like the last time I looked at the clock, it was 12:30 or 3:30 a.m. when I put my phone down, and when
Yeah.
I opened my eyes again, it was 12:01 a.m. or 12:01 p.m.
You got
Yeah.
the sleep in. But I
Yeah.
mean, at least
Woke up.
that's your only side effect that you're kind of really
Yeah, same
experiencing.
for David. Both of us are just really tired, and as the day has gone on, it's gotten better.
Yeah.
We got up and we went to Target and came back, and by the time we came back, I was pretty tired again. But I definitely feel a lot more like my normal fatigue.
Yeah.
I know
It's
it sounds
you're
awful,
going back to your normal.
like my normal amount of tired.
Yeah, Justin got his Wednesday, I think, and his the only side effect he really felt was being tired, especially the next day. The next day he was pretty tired,
Yeah.
and it can also cause like headaches. But he had a headache, and once he got the shot, he didn't have a headache, so that worked
Um,
out.
now that you mention that, in the first hour or so, we got back home, and I just didn't know if it was because we've woken up so much earlier than usual after no sleep, but I did have a slight headache for about 20-30 minutes, now that you mention it, and my stomach felt weird, like almost like I had to burp. Like I had this
Hmm.
weird, almost like medicine taste in the back of my throat. And then, but I had fallen asleep, and when I woke up, it was gone anyway. And
Yeah.
I would say the headache lasted maybe 20-30 minutes, and it wasn't significant at
Yeah.
all. I felt another one setting in last night, but I get headaches kind of regularly, so I didn't know if it was the shot
Or
or
just normal.
my normal amount of headache, and my the rash on my face was more highlighted last night.
Hmm.
But it's a malar rash, so it's an immune reaction anyway. So I don't know if it was just reacting to
Yeah. To
the shot.
the
I don't know. I'm
yeah.
not a doctor. I
We thank everybody who's here so far. If you're watching the
yes,
replay, Matt and David have got their first dose of the vaccine. Yay, it's exciting. One more step closer to me going to visit them.
right.
So, some breaking
April
news right
16th is the
before.
next day. Is the
That's
next shot.
exciting. Yeah, because you got the Pfizer. Yeah, I don't many people actually who so far have gotten the Johnson and Johnson shot, which would
We
be
haven't had
the
it
the one
available.
shot.
I did look around. It is available in some places, but I kind of was hoping for that one because it is one and done. But at the same time, if that's the one that's least available right now, I'd rather them be stockpiling it because we're going to have everybody as of Monday is going to start being able to get it. So it's going to be
Yeah,
so much easier to get everybody in one and
one
done. And,
dose. Yep.
right. And there's a lot of people that have some pretty severe anxiety that I'm really sorry you're going to have to like face it for this, but it's really was the least painful shot because I want to point out there's no preservatives in these because they're just being shipped and sent. So it's not the same as like if you need like I needed Hep A B for school and they burned, and the pharmacist told me that it's because of the preservatives that are in it. So sometimes they burn, sometimes they don't, and they
Yeah.
burned. They burned going in, but as soon as the injection was over, it stopped. But this was hardly anything. I mean, I was expecting the pinch of like
Yeah.
that feeling, and It was nothing.
Basically, if you've stubbed your toe, you can survive the
Oh
vaccine.
yeah, stubbing my toe hurt way worse. Running into the table the other day hurt way worse.
If you're here, be sure and leave a comment if you have a question or commenting on whatever story we're talking about. Matt, we had breaking news right before this started. Sharon Osborne is no longer going to be on the talk. A
Wow,
statement
I'm
from
so
CBS says
I'm so surprised.
the
I
events of
can't believe
March
it.
10th broadcast were upsetting to everyone involved, including the audience watching at home. As part of our review, we concluded that Sharon's behavior towards her co host during the March 10th episode did not align with our values for a respectful workplace. We also did not find any evidence that CBS executives orchestrated the discussion or blindsided any of the hosts, which had been alleged. At the same time, we acknowledge the network and studio teams, as well as the showrunners, are accountable for what happened during the broadcast, as it was clear the co hosts were not properly prepared by the staff for a complex and sensitive discussion involving race. During this week's hiatus, we are coordinating workshops, listening sessions, and training about equity, inclusion, and cultural awareness for the hosts, producers, and crew. Going forward, we are identifying plans to enhance the producing staff and producing procedures to better serve the hosts, the production, and ultimately our viewers. And then it will return in April, I believe. It's going to return back. Um, the show will return in April. So it'll be off the air. April 12th is when it's going to be returning. So off the air for a little bit longer. But there we go. Sharon Osborne is leaving the talk. I think it said that she had made the decision to leave. Obviously, it's probably a coordinated effort between CBS and Sharon Osborne
So
to
we've
leave.
talked about wanting to do this like more news style. If we ever get to like sit together and do this, I can tell you that if this story had started breaking while you were telling, I would have started laughing. Like for example, like we're talking about, oh, how prepared it was. Like for anybody who has not been living under a fucking rock, it's very easy to be like, wow, I am not a person of color. I am not black. I am not Asian. I am not Latino, Latina. That means I don't probably know what the hell I'm talking about. So, AKA, go ahead, you talk and tell me what to think. Tell me like what you think and tell me
Yeah.
what I'm missing here. Like I think what got me the most was like, don't you start crying? I was like,
Oh my God. That was just so crazy. Like, why would you do that?
it was very much the way that uh, I don't know how other families parent, but that tone and that those words that were chosen is very much the way my parental figures, whether it was my parents or my grandparents, talked to me when they were trying to dominate a conversation or telling me, "Oh, Johnny Apollo, hi." But what they would usually say is, "Don't you start crying," or like, "Don't you be the you're not the I'm not the bad guy here. You're the disobedient child." And that was the tones I was picking up there, and you get really tired of that. Yeah, obviously at some points when you're a teenager, you do things, but this is a very influential person with a platform, a lot of resources, and speaking to a table of other adults who, in that setting, they are equals. Nobody's anybody's boss here. And that was uncomfortable. And I can tell you, I would have died laughing, like right there, like when you started reading that, because, like, what, what would possess you to say that?
Jonathan is like coordinated effort equals they gave into her monetary demands.
Oh, I'm sure.
Who knows? Most likely, it seems in a lot of these cases, the contracts are paid out. Either you're paying them off to leave the show, as what happened with Megyn Kelly. They just were like,
Ugh.
okay, this is not providing the ratings we want, and some other issues. Obviously, she was talking about some issues concerning Black Americans and Halloween. And so they removed her from there, but she got her full payment. So a lot of times they get the full payments if there's not, for some reason, some kind of stipulation in the contract, a moral clause of sorts. So anyway, we'll see. She is the last remaining of the original host on that show, actually, to now leave the show. So we'll see what happens. And I do think that the staff does need some training because it does seem, not only from what she alleged, but just from other things you're hearing, that it seemed that producers were trying to pit, not even concerning issues surrounding like issues of color, but just other issues. It was like these producers were trying to pit each girl against each other, and that's really not how you should produce a show. It seems like we probably had favorites. So this producer was trying to get back at this producer, and they're, because each person has their own producer, and so they produce them, and so the in TV it can get crazy. Let me tell you. Um, so
Well,
Matt,
speaking of TV, I'm really glad you found this story because I was reading something like, we've talked a bit about people going off on tangents and attitudes, and you and I kind of had different opinions on how that should be handled. And in this case, we're talking about Sharon Osborne acting like a diva, and then, in the worst possible way. It was like, we all kind of cringed. Sorry, my nose is itching really bad. But if you all remember a couple years ago, the whole thing with Christian Bale, right? When he went off on that guy and everyone went, oh, that's uncomfortable. And Sharon Stone was like, someone had asked her in an interview, like, is there anything you would ever want to atone for, like any onset behavior? And she was like, no. But then the subject of Christian Bale came up, and I was just like, now, they'd ask her that, but would they have asked any of his male co-stars of any other movie? That's what gets me. Like, you would ask her that. Now, she did defend him, saying that people should just grow up. He's trying to play another person. And those were the key words that I was looking for. Not because it was coming from her, but because I think that's the key point. What is he doing? He is playing. We are out here on a floating rock playing make-believe and paying bills. That's it. Like, and it gets me. It's like, well, they're doing this, and he has every right to be this upset, which is, I think, what his male co-stars would say too. If you went to high school with any other straight guys, that's what they do. They defend their bros, and it always gets me. And it's like, okay, so I know that it's been acceptable to act that way for like a century, that we've all known, but it's not. Nobody ever walks away from that going, wow, what a fantastic experience that was. And it's like not going to happen. If we ever became like a big thing and I saw you act that way to somebody that was working for us, you would hear people on the street would hear us fighting. Like, I don't care. Like, that attitude is so unacceptable. And I get everybody has a bad day. I mean, I don't think one outburst should have because we don't know him personally, but I'm speaking more to the overall behavior. It's like the same thing. It's like, oh, well, they do something really important. Yeah, and pro athletes run down the field, they kick a ball around, they throw a ball around. When you boil it down to like the basics of what we do as people, as adults, we don't really do very much. Yeah. We do this thing, we die, and we move on. Like
we look recently to like the Tom Cruise situation where he had a screaming match with people on his set for COVID protocols. Maybe that was okay to do. I don't know. I would probably be yelling at people too if they weren't wearing their mask.
Right. Well, in this situation, endangering people, and especially if they're doing a set and they're in another city, it's not like they live in the town that they're quarantined in.
Yeah.
Or are being asked to not leave. These could be people that are bringing it to set. There could be people that are only there for a handful of days, and those people could be flying back to their houses, getting on a plane with other people, back to their own towns, and that's how it spreads. But
I mean, he probably shouldn't have done it. It's probably we don't know the whole story behind everything, exactly what happened. We only know the highlights of it. But it's one of those cases.
At the same time, when you're acting like that. And if people are used to you acting like that, nobody's listening. My stepdad's a sociopath. When he goes on his little tangents, I ain't listening.
That's the thing. I feel like all these people are like that. And these studios make a decision. They made a decision in the Sharon Osborne case that she wasn't worth it. Ultimately, sometimes it might come out that they feel like it's worth keeping them because it's going to provide them some income of sorts. In this case, they felt that it didn't. And that's it was a money decision. It wasn't really based on any sort of thing.
We're not going to pretend this
And
had
then
anything to do
Jonathan
with rights.
says, "All I have to say in closing is I wish Sharon all the best. She's not gonna she's not gonna suffer. You know, she gets that money. She's gonna live in her mansion and she'll be back."
Right. She's going to have another part, whatever. And then it was like when Kelly Osborne said something similar on, I can't remember which,
The View.
was it The View? And
Yeah.
it was like, I came across the clip again the other day, and holy crap.
Yeah,
You know,
it just happens, and then they come back.
Trailer park, but you know, I'm like, and it's true. Sometimes you can take the boy out of the trailer park, but you can't take the trailer park out of me. Every now and then, my roots just erupt. I have never thought that it was a good idea to say something like that in a.
The thing is, I will say, when you're in TV, like, so whatever your personality and whatever you say, maybe to friends or in private, will usually at some point always come out, because people don't realize this, but when you're in front of a camera and when you're on TV, ultimately after a period of time, you forget you're on TV. And I know
I
it
totally forget people are
sounds
watching
crazy,
us
but you literally forget there's a camera there. I would always forget there was a camera and mics around, always. And who knows, there might have been something said and caught.
Well,
Matt,
I mean, we do this 4 days a week, so
yeah.
I routinely forget. Some of your favorite moments that we pick up are because I'm not doing anything that I'm worried about, but I usually forget that our mics are on because I'm so used to talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I also have the sense of like something I would joke about with somebody one-on-one is not necessarily appropriate to joke about, you know, like.
Yeah. The thing is, though,
forum of 10 million people.
Yeah. The thing, a lot of times, though, those things end up coming out because you do forget that you feel like you're talking to your friends. If you're like on a show like that, you feel like you're talking to just a friend, and then it ends up being on TV, and then it's a disaster. In her case, that was a different situation because she was clearly very upset at someone who actually had been kind of her friend for those 11 years she was on the show. Matt, we had talked about last week the Gucci shoes, and that it was like you're paying a digital thing. So this one, Jack Dorsey, I mentioned it and I said we're going to talk about it, but he sold an NFT, his first tweet, for $2.9 million. And this is what he sold. You know, it's just his tweet, just setting up my Twitter. Now, the tweet is a form of non-fungible token. An NFT means non-fungible token. It's kind of a unique digital asset. It's exploded in popularity so far this year in 2021. Now, each of these has a blockchain-based digital signature. Blockchain can also be used for like Bitcoins and that kind of thing. It's a kind of signature, I guess, basically a digital signature. And it serves as a public ledger. It allows anyone to verify that this asset is authentic and verify who the owner is. Now, NFTs can be anything digital, such as drawings, musics, and art. And that's really kind of what it is really centered around right now, is these NFTs are for selling digital art. So, like, for instance, this is Dogecoin. This piece of art would be an NFT, a non-fungible token. The Dogecoin, which is a form of like a currency. So you have Bitcoin. Dogecoin is also this currency that is a fungible token. So this is art. And so people could purchase this piece of art. Now you could save it to your computer, but you don't own it. But I could purchase this little Dogecoin dog, and it would be mine. It doesn't make sense, but you know, whatever. So Jack sold this for $2.9 million to a Malaysian man, Sina Estava. Now he said, this is not this is just not a tweet. I think years later, people will realize the true value of this tweet. Ready for this? Like the Mona Lisa painting. So he is equating this, that eventually we're going to see this as like the Mona Lisa painting, and he wants to be the one who owns this tweet. He did buy it using a cryptocurrency called Ethereum, which is kind of like Bitcoin, but another one, because we have a Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin, whatever. And then Jack Dorsey here, once he got the money, he changed it into 51 Bitcoins and then donated that to an Africa fund. But I don't understand these NFTs. Like, why am I going why am I going to purchase this tweet and then think at a certain point in time that this is going to be like the Mona Lisa and people are going to be like, oh, wow, that tweet. And you can be like, oh, you know what? I own that.
I like to
Matt,
know who gives a shit.
do you want do you want to own my first tweet?
I own lots of things
Chris
about
said the
Cody.
same thing. Well, I wonder what my first tweet is. I need to go back. We'll go back and talk about it next week. What my first tweet would have been. It was probably like hi. Chris,
My
do you
first
remember your
tweet
first tweet?
on this account, it was something like, "Well, here we are again." On my alt account, it was not anything appropriate that we talk about on this hour. But I don't know. Nobody will own that without my consent. Thank you.
I think it's just crazy. I don't know. And people, it's happening a lot. It's happening a lot, and people are spending a lot of money to purchase these. Now, the thing is, it takes a lot of money, and it's really bad for the environment, actually, because mining Bitcoin is really bad for the environment because your people have these computer farms set up to mine the Bitcoins, and then that requires power. And so people are running these farms to mine Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Dogecoin, and all these things. And because it has to have a ledger, and so like it signs that this person got this much, and it signs, and you have to keep a report of that, and so it requires a lot of power. You're going to go through your Twitter now to find out what your first tweet is. I can't wait to hear what it is.
I think a lot of us have. Let's see. My very first account would have been set up in 2008 when I worked for Apple still. So I remember not really knowing how to use my Twitter very well. I would forget my password, and I just couldn't remember it for crap. And so I could only log into it on my computer for a long time because I didn't get an iPhone until December of 2009. And it probably sounds really weird that I remember that, but
Yeah, I'll have to find my first tweet because I think it will be fun to see what I'm almost positive I said hi. So we were going to actually talk about this. I don't know if Matt saw it because it was stuck on his screen for a bit when we were recording a podcast episode this week. So we would have talked about it before it went crazy. But cinnamon shrimp toast crunch. So the backstory on this is Jensen Carr. He's a writer, podcaster, and host.
This really went to hell so fast.
It did. One time he was a rapper named Hot Carl. Okay, let's maybe choose a better name than that, but whatever. Anyway, he posted evidence on Twitter that he apparently thinks he had shrimp tails in his box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Now, he happens to be the husband of actress Danae Fishel, who is Topanga from Boy Meets World. Now, of course, this went viral. This was when I was wanting to talk about it. And it went back and forth between him and Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I didn't want to really talk about that because they were saying it was basically like sugar pieces. He's going to go have it tested. He's sending a piece to them. They're going to test it, whatever. The big story comes, though, because just a few days later, Jensen Carr, a.k.a. the Cinnamon Toast Crunch guy, went from an internet tell of fame to apparently someone who abuses women. So
right. What the?
Apparently, actor writer Melissa Stanton referenced a trending LA Times Twitter headline about Carp, where she said, "What you may not know about the man behind the viral post. Like he's a manipulative, gaslighting, narcissistic ex-boyfriend who once told me he was surprised I hadn't killed myself because my life was so worthless." And then Stephanie quote tweeted, "Haha, my quickly deleted subtweet yesterday said, oh no, I can't follow the latest viral saga because I was blocked in 2014 because I was not gracious enough after a surprise threesome, but not before I was told to be careful or I would never work in this town again." And then Rory Uphold commented, "I ended up in the hospital, took me a year to recover mentally, and I still struggle." What? Again, Matt, we cannot ever have anything fun on the internet. I feel like something like this happens, which is crazy. Who knows? Is it a shrimp piece? Is it not a shrimp piece? And it could just be something, ha ha ha. No.
I was fully expecting that to turn into what color's the dress kind of conversation. I was like, I don't want to talk about this. Like, I really didn't. But then, like, within 24 hours, all of that burst out. I was like, okay, well, we definitely need to talk about it because
So I didn't know this term. It's called milkshake
abusive
duck.
people gonna stay abusive, apparently.
I guess so. Jensen Carp is basically known as milkshake duck now. So the term milkshake duck, is referring to anybody who becomes popular or sudden fame that turns out, oh, there's some dark secrets. So Urban Dictionary says that a milkshake duck is someone who gains sudden fame for something nice and positive, only to soon be revealed as deeply flawed character with terrible opinions and or a shady past, often involving corrosive social political ideologies, which quickly tarnish their fame and the goodwill people momentarily had towards them.
Yeah, nobody wants to like it. It's like you see something happen, you're like, before I like and retweet that, let me do a quick Google search and start looking to see if there's any. We usually kind of start with sexual assault allegations. That's usually the first one, and and I don't mean like stuff maybe they did when they were like 18 and have long since apologized and have tried to lead an upstanding life. I just mean like, oh my God, you're a white supremacist. That
Do you
does
remember?
tend to. Boy, that comes out quick, huh?
I don't remember exactly the context behind it, but there was like that pumpkin spice girl who was dressed up all like, the normal like girl with like the scarf and the hat and the same clothes. And she said something to someone and people wanted to like be her friend, but they were like, oh, is she like
Yeah, let's
pro
make sure
LGBT?
she's amazing.
Do what?
Yeah, I think she turned out to be amazing.
Yes, she did. But at first you
I
were
was
like,
like,
oh.
yeah, I remember being like, oh gosh, are we about to have, the Madison, the young version of Karen? Is this about to happen? And then she turned out completely amazing. And I was so happy. And, it's like, oh.
It's great when you have stories like that, but you don't want to become apparently the milkshake duck. And I feel like we've had a lot of that. You remember there was
and then a lot of times people become popular against their will because of something. Like if you remember Alex from Target, like cute boy gets some girls took a picture of him in Target and then posted it, and the amount of like love and hate thrown at him, and he literally did nothing, but he was just like doing his job, and they took a picture of him, I guess, because they thought he was cute or whatever, and it changed his life. And
I mean, people could take a picture of me if they want.
That's a lot of attention to throw at somebody. I mean, I don't even like when people sing happy birthday to me in a restaurant. Like anybody that's ever gone out for my birthday with me, there are strict rules that we don't do that. I will get up and leave. I will literally get up, go to my car and leave everybody there. I can't handle it. I know that I can't. And Chris Pettis was actually present at my 22nd birthday. And I don't know if he remembers me giving everybody a talk like, do not do it. It's not funny. I don't like it. That's something that would just be very overwhelming and uncomfortable for me. And this is something that was done to a teenager. So, like the internet can make, break, rise, fall. There's like a roller coaster for people. And then, of course, people are mad. And I'm like, well, if you're going to be a white supremacist and that comes out, I don't really feel bad for you.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, he hates it. I do.
I mean, luckily, the Target kid, he's making big bank now.
Yeah, like for him, it turned out well. But like, there's been some adventures with Susan Boyle, for example, where she lashed out at media a few times because she wasn't comfortable with that kind of attention in her face constantly. And, sometimes everybody is looking for a reason for you to slip and fall, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, in her case, it was a tough thing because obviously she'd gone on a show, and it's like we talk about celebrity. They do deserve somewhat of a private life as well. When we talked about, can't even think of her name now, but we've talked about it in the past of celebrities,
right?
Who,
but I mean, someone like Susan Boyle who went on a talent competition. There's a difference between being on a talent competition and then being like, Brittany and Justin and all of them, that went through like the Mickey Mouse Club and were kind of always in the public eye. And they started learning from a young age to try and balance it, or, had family support.
mm-hmm.
This is a 47-year-old single person who was not comfortable with that level. And I don't think could anything really prepare you for that kind of.
No, I mean, I think I feel like it's a hard
I
situation
mean,
in her
Cody, as a local
case.
celebrity in your own
Oh my
hometown.
god, I loved it.
Yeah,
I
it's not
loved
even.
I loved being in the store, and people would literally stop me, and I'd be in the like, grocery cart at Target, and people would stop me and like just start talking to me about something, or something we talked about that morning, or like before going to work in the afternoon, I would like go to the gas station, be coming in and out, and like just walking through the door, and someone would be like, "Hey, Cody," and that was it. There was no conversation. It was just like, "Hey, Cody." I was like, "Hey." Like, I loved it though. I love it. I love celebrity. Let everybody take photos of me. I want all the attention. Then once I have enough
Yeah,
money, I'll have the bodyguard. It's fine. It's fine, Matt.
yeah.
So,
You know, Cody to have like this like delicious bodyguard. You know, like I would
um,
probably just pull stuff to see if he throws me.
like, are you
You
gonna
know,
go
tell
out
him,
with me when the paparazzi starts taking our photos? Or are you gonna like
oh
follow
yeah,
behind?
totally. So if I'm prepared for it, it's fine. I just need a second. But like I just that's different. For some reason, I don't know what it is. I do not like being the center of attention for something like a birthday or like we can all do dinner. I don't mind having people over and like I appreciate everybody showing me the affection. Like I'm good with it. I love it. Thank you so much, guys. But like when everybody starts singing at me and I'm like, I don't know what it is. That is apparently
I
my
always
limit.
hated that. I always hated that. I would purposely not want to go. I would go somewhere. I would choose. They'd be like, "Where do you want to go?" I would choose like a fast food place or something, or somewhere where I knew
Oh,
they didn't sing "Happy Birthday," and that's what I would choose. Or I would say, "Oh, I want this at home, like a homemade meal." Um, so this is our only serious story of the day, but I thought it was we should mention it. It is now illegal in Georgia to give food and water to voters in line. Of course, the bill was signed into law Thursday night by the Georgia governor Brian Kemp. It's illegal to hand out food or water to people standing in line that are voting. No person shall solicit votes in any manner by any means or method, nor shall any person distribute or display any campaign material, nor shall any person give, offer to give, or participate in the giving of any money or gifts, including but not limited to food and drinks, to an elector. The law applies within 150 feet of a polling place or within 25 feet of any voter at a polling place, and violators will be guilty of a misdemeanor. Now, one influential black pastor in Georgia says that he thinks the law is unreasonable and that his church will use it to fire up voters. He told CNN that he already is planning to test the law with civil disobedience. He said that at a future election, his church will dare the police to arrest someone giving water to an elderly person waiting to vote. Uh, they also introduced more rigid voter identification requirements for absentee votings. They did limit drop boxes. Of course, no surprise, and Texas had that. They also expanded the
right.
legislature's power over elections so they can kind of come into some of these smaller
Right.
districts
They
and kind of
removed the
take
Secretary of
control.
State
Um,
as the
Republicans defended the measure because they dubbed it the Election Integrity Act of 2021, saying all of this, not giving food to people, is required to boost confidence in voting after last year's election. Kemp, the governor, said the law will ensure elections in Georgia are secure, fair, and accessible. They already were.
yeah, I know.
The
And I don't believe
Secretary
for
of
a
State.
second that the police wouldn't do that. I mean, they knocked over that 75-year-old man and like fractured his
Am I
skull
right?
and faced no criminal charges. I'm like, and like we all watched it happen.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, it's just like crazy. I mean, the Secretary of State, it's what we talked about in previous episodes of our podcast, is that there was no interference. There was no like issues with the election overall. Everyone, all the Secretary of States agreed, even Republican Secretary of States, including the one in Georgia, said there was no issues. It was these politicians saying there were issues, which caused the voters to think there were issues. This is what got me, though, Matt. Governor signed the voter suppression law under a painting of a slave plantation. So,
wow, what a shock! Said no one ever that's like
and
read anything in any of history.
there was also, I believe, someone from the Georgia legislature who was arrested because they signed. Did I can't speak. They did the signing like behind closed doors, kind of in private, and so there was a
Yeah,
legislature knocking at the door, and they got arrested.
yeah, they arrested a sitting state representative for, I believe she was charged with a felony. And for what? Knocking on a door. I mean, it's complete bullshit. It's completely. But I think everybody, I think if you spend any time with us on our Twitters or with us on the podcast or the shows, everybody knows where we stand on that. So,
Um, moving to something that kind of went crazy on Twitter last night, Matt. I don't know if you've seen it, but Lil Nas X released his video for Montero, "Call Me by Your Name."
yeah, I meant to watch it this afternoon. I slept the whole afternoon again. I'm so sorry. But I've seen all the still shots, and I'm so excited. Literally, as soon as we're done with the show, I'm going to be watching it.
Well, here you go, Matt. Here's a little bit of it. The
no, don't spoil it.
The artist was pole dancing, descending onto the lap of Satan. His LGBTQ fans embraced it for its sexuality. But predictably, I'll stop it, Matt, before it gets to the really good part. I'll let you see that.
Well, I did retweet something from it because I saw the still shots, and it was him up against.
Oh, that's all I have.
It's like, it's okay, I'm on prep, and I laughed so hard.
I thought I had more of that, but I guess I turned it off before he starts grinding upon his version of Satan. But anyway, predictably, there were people who came out against the video.
Oh, of course.
The video, of course, was embraced by people of color and queer people of color. It sparked condemnation among many conservatives. Robbie Starbuck, a video producer and director who's a Republican candidate for Congress from Tennessee, called the video, quote, "evil content being peddled to children." Then Lil Nas X had the last word, though. He said, "There is a mass shooting every week that our government does nothing to stop. Me sliding down a CGI pole isn't what's destroying society." Right? And then
I personally think we need beautiful bisexual black men sliding down poles every week.
I love Lil Nas X.
I'm just saying, I mean, I don't know if that's the solution to a lot of the world's problems, but it could not hurt anything to increase. I'm just saying. Right. I mean,
and then on Twitter, Ben Yar had this: Fox News after a mass shooting, Fox News after Lil Nas X. Anyway, there you go, and that's true. Oh, Moana, thank you for those images. I love Moana.
Chris did let me know what his very first tweet was.
What is this first tweet?
It actually involves me.
Oh my gosh.
So it's from May 8th, 2010, and all it says is, "in DC." The reason for that is my ex-husband was relocated to Pennsylvania, to the Pennsylvania-Maryland area where we lived in Chambersburg, PA, to open Sonics up there because he was a store manager and general manager for Sonic. So myself, my ex-husband, Chris, his ex-boyfriend, and another friend of ours, Nick, the five of us caravanned up to, we drove my car, James's car, and a U-Haul truck, or a Penske truck, and caravanned them all up there. And then we think we took them to DC. We went and saw DC for like the weekend. I actually have a picture of me in DC from then, and I'm like literally this big. And Chris and everybody, there's a couple of pictures floating around of it, but yeah, Chris and I got to go to see DC, and then we put them on a flight back to Orlando and said goodbye to them a couple days later. So yeah, that was Chris's very first tweet, and that's so funny. Chris,
that is fun.
Long time.
I love that it involved you.
Teenagers.
Did you hear, Matt? This could start costing us money at the store. But there's the whole like log jam in the canal where the ship got stuck. And
I know it's serious, but like really,
I don't know how it happens. One big thing, big shipments come from that area.
Probably
coffee.
Trying to parallel park their.
Oh my god! Yes, coffee could be going up now because of this. So Matt, I don't know your Starbucks.
I don't need your negativity on this show. Stop that.
So they're having
Look,
to
my
dig
drink was already
this.
made wrong every day this last week and a half, and I've tolerated it with grace and civility. I do not need your negativity about increased coffee prices. Oh,
I'm gonna
please.
make you some coffee. Well, I got my espresso machine.
Yeah.
So they're having to dig this ship out here.
Yeah, you do. You even have some attachments for it.
No, that's the blender. That's the blender.
That's worse.
So they're having to dig this ship out. So Matt, here's a cute video. I think they need to hire this dog. This dog needs to come help them.
Oh my god, I actually just saw this right before we went on live.
Now look at this. This dog is so good. Oh, so cute.
We like dogs and cats. If anybody hasn't noticed, we're animal people.
I know super animal people. I got my chickens, my cats, and I keep adopting cats because they keep coming to the house. I want a dog. We just can't find a golden retriever because apparently it's hard. So you're gonna just have to buy one. But this dog
Yeah,
is so cute.
I only wanted to go through a rescue as well, and there wasn't anything. And I realized that maybe I shouldn't have a dog right now. I'm not there yet.
Yeah. Yeah. With the golden retrievers out here, the rescue is just it's almost impossible. You just can't get one. Like
I
there's like a
talked to
hundred
one
people.
rescue, and they were so freaking rude. Like,
Yeah,
and they
some
were
of them
really
actually
sketchy.
can
I'm like,
be.
why? I'm like, God. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm glad they take care of them and everything. I specifically wanted a retriever or a lab because of, they really good therapy dogs. And I mean, I I have issues. So let's bring on. I mean, it's real. So, but yeah, nothing available. And then, like I said, I don't think I'm there yet. So, like,
I'm trying to
and then
collect
we
them
have
all. Matt's gonna come to my house and it's gonna be a literal zoo.
well,
I
so
can't
when
have it in
Chris knew me,
California.
I always adopted whatever extra animal people didn't want. I would just take it and be like, that's okay. I mean, sometimes I find them at home later and other times I didn't. But if it didn't have a home, it lived with me and I took care of it. And I would say at least 2 hours of every day for years was uh, brushing, grooming, petting, playing with, all of them,
Mm.
working with them. And my calico that I had for almost 15 years she had really severe anxiety. I think she was abused before I got her. I got her when she was 3. So, there was a lot of adventures. Oh, Chris actually knew me when that cat got out for 6 weeks. She
Mm.
was gone for 6 weeks before I caught her. I thought she was dead. And I was neurotic. And after we found her, I called my grandparents and told them I got her back. And my grandparents were really upset when she got lost for me. And I couldn't I mean, I figured they would care because we were animal people, but I remember kind of thinking that was weird. So when I called home, when I called home around Christmas, I got her back the week of Christmas. They were like, well, we didn't want to tell you, but our family cat and or dog had died like literally the week Amy got lost. And they were actually planning to call me in a couple days to tell me. And then I called first and said, Amy's gone. And I told them what happened. And they felt so bad. They didn't want to tell me because I was like in school, I was working full time. And they're like,
Mm-hmm.
let's just give this. So I guess they were going to wait till after the holidays and let me kind of calm down a little bit from like life and
Mm-hmm.
then tell me. And they were like, well, not to ruin your day, but I'm like, oh, well, thank you for being considerate and being concerned about my mental health. I'll be honest, the one cat, I feel really bad for saying this, but does anybody have that one pet that everybody in the family loves and you can't stand? We had this cat named Kayla. She was a little Manx cat, which are tailless cats. And Kayla was the most beautiful kitty cat, like 5-6 pounds, adorable, soft, sweet, and silky, and hated me. I don't know why. Literally, the first week I lived with my grandparents, I was sitting at the computer playing solitaire. She
Mm-hmm.
walked by me in the dark and slashed my knee open. Like, this cat never liked me. Now, my grandfather spoiled the living shit out of her, let her have whatever she wanted, and she was totally unmanageable. Our other cat was sweet and nice, like a normal, like a normal cat. But this particular cat was such a brat to people because of how my grandfather treated her. She was even a little frosty with my grandmother, and I'm like,
She pulled
full
her
of
shank out
kitty.
and was telling you who's boss.
Yeah, and I hadn't even done anything to her. We reached like a truce, but when she eventually met her end, I was like, well, tragic.
That, yeah,
You
I want a
know,
dog.
I
We'll
felt
see what
bad for my
happens.
grandfather because they were very close,
Yeah,
but
you were no fan.
oh my god, I forgot about that. So Chris has a dog named Chase who he's an old man puppy now, but I knew them when he adopted Chase, and Chase chased Amy, my calico, around, and Amy Amy let him know the folly of his ways. Just slapped the living shit out of him. I totally forgot about that.
Oh,
And then he bit James in the face, like, which was really funny. We told him, so Chris brought Chase over to meet us and play with
yeah.
us, and I know better than to stick my face in a dog's face, especially a very young dog who's brand new to you. And James was like, "Oh, how cute!" but was like this close to him. It didn't like break skin or anything, but
Yeah.
it, scared him. And I'm like, "What did we learn?"
If I did it, what did Cody learn? Cody would do it again.
Yeah. Oh, he did too. Like freaking 5-year-old with when it came to those things. I'm like,
We want to thank everybody who's here, who's been joining us. If you're watching this replay, hi. Of course, we're available on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube, on Twitch. So you can follow us any of those places, get notifications when you go live. We go live every Friday at 5 o'clock Pacific. And some of the things that you may have missed if you weren't here earlier, we did begin with breaking news about Sharon Osborne leaving the talk, probably forced out, but whatever. We also had mentioned her daughter, Kelly
we're all
Osborne,
shocked and
being
heartbroken.
on The View, and there was an issue on The View. And Jonathan actually had brought up that there was rumors at the time that they forced Rosie Perez to apologize to Kelly because of her reaction to what Kelly had said. And that was a turning point for her early departure from The View. So that
I
was a
could
crazy
believe that.
story. We actually talked about Jack from Twitter selling this first tweet, just setting up my Twitter for $2.9 million because I guess why? I don't know. We talked about cinnamon toast crunch shrimp, but that we
I want
also
you to say that
realized
again.
shrimp cinnamon toast crunch. Shrimp cinnamon toast crunch. Oh, it's hard to say. Anyway, Jensen Carr, Topanga's husband, uh, said that this happened and there was shrimp in his cinnamon toast crunch, and turns out he's a really bad person and told women to kill themselves apparently. And so he became known as a milkshake duck. And what we found out is a milkshake duck is someone who gains sudden fame and turns out to be a terrible person. Then we talked about illegal to vote in Georgia to give food and water to those in line, and that the governor signed that legislative bill in front of a picture of a painting of a slave plantation because, on brand. And then we got through just now talking about Lil Nas X. Lil Nas X, everyone's favorite.
He's my celebrity crush. If you guys remember a conversation we had a while back, so it's pretty exciting. He's
I
really funny
mean,
on Twitter too.
he is
Like
funny. He's funny. He's
he is
smart. He's
quick.
just
Yeah.
and cute. Like, but anyway, he goes on this stripper pole down to hell, I guess, and he gives Satan a lap dance or some other things. Make your decision on what's going on there. But it does stop. I don't know why I stopped this, Matt, before it happens, because I feel like that's the whole point I wanted to show.
I
But you
think it's
saw the
really funny that
screenshots if
people
you've
get
been on
so up
Twitter.
in arms about it, especially the people like it was. I'm like, I know for a fact because a lot of people I see their alternate social medias, and because when you're a claims adjuster, you get really good at investigating. It's like, I know you have bought Molly from strangers, taken loads in a back alley, and you're upset about whatever thing of the
Mm-hmm.
week this is. And I'm like, the hypocrisy, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
someone
Exactly.
when I'm living in a small town in Pennsylvania was very much like that, where there's like more churches than people raging in the urgent care that I worked about, the reason for everything being so wrong with young, quote unquote, young people these days. And I'm like, interesting. Let me take a look at and then it's like, why are you here today? Interesting. Wow. Does your wife know why you're here for that? Well, great. It's nice that you're playing a fun game of hide and go clap, but let's get you back here. Like,
Those secrets.
sweet.
Ugh. Me
Yeah,
and Matt kind
I
of
mean,
talked about stuff
straight
like
up
in private
hypocrisy.
where it's like, why people keep secrets and this and that. It's just like crazy. We're getting close to the end here. So what has me talking, Matt? So it's another TV show. So this TV show, though, I finished Upload. So I know we had mentioned Upload last week, and some of you had watched it already. I finished it. Oh my God, the way it ends. What? Luckily, there's going to be a second season because I need to know what happens. But it ends. If there wasn't a second season, great ending. But like, whoa, cliffhanger. I don't know what. But this newest one is Teenage Bounty Hunter, and it's on Netflix. And it's when twin sisters Sterling and Blair balance their teen life at an elite Southern high school with an unlikely new career as butt kicking bounty hunters. And here's like a little clip
Oh God,
to see what it's all about.
this is fiction, right? Okay.
What are you ladies doing here? Oh, you're lucky I didn't use my gun.
That's okay. We'll use ours.
All right, girls. If you want to keep working with me, the assignment, bring in the fugitive.
Is that Lawrence Fishburne?
Is not.
Did good. Good job.
Well, we will see y'all at home.
Please don't do that. Luke and I.
We made love. In your vagina.
Yeah.
I guess you're the sluttier twin now.
I know.
I'm a single lady, and I want to meet somebody interesting. Oh, they're naked. Bitches. We are really nailing this work-life balance. Why do women complain so much? It's super easy to have it all.
This has to remain top secret. You're right. Twins wear.
Teenage Bounty Hunters.
So I thought it was Lawrence Fishburne for a second because I'm watching on a smaller screen, and it looks like just like how his character from Passengers did, and I was like, once we got to the other shots, it definitely wasn't.
Jonathan has us.
No.
It's Kadeem Hardison.
Okay,
That's the actor.
I just want to know who's the target audience for that show?
I don't know.
I don't know if these are the questions I'm supposed to be asking, or maybe I missed the point. But okay, like I feel like what's going to happen, because I don't watch a lot of the shows that you do, I'm going to have to start watching like an episode here and there and make myself do it as research. And I used to think when I was younger, and people that worked in media, I'd be like, friends that I'd be like, what are you doing? They're like, oh, watching this TV show for research. I'm like, you could just say you don't want to hang out, you know? And now I'm like, I've become that which I, you know?
Yes, you'll have to add it to your list because I want to see what you think. So, Justin, we had watched the trailer a long while back because it's been out for a little bit. And I guess at the time he thought it was kind of like more like for kids or teens. And but then I guess he put it on one day and then he saved it and we started watching it. And so it's pretty funny.
Available now.
It's available now on Netflix.
Like what?
Netflix, yep. All the episodes, obviously, since it's Netflix, are up, and so it's a funny show that works out pretty good. Who's watching the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League? I'm not sure if I can sit still for 4 hours. Okay, so
I feel like I need to. I watch the extended editions of each of the Lord of the Rings at least once a year. So I feel like because I do that, I should be able to.
You got the length time. Okay, so I watched it. We watched it like the weekend that it came out, or that weekend after. Loved it. Loved it. Loved it. Loved it. Way better than the other version of Justice League that originally came out in theaters. It's 4 hours long. For me, it did not feel like 4 hours. So a lot of times a movie that it's an hour and a half, 2 hours long, at a certain point, it's like, oh my God, this movie is okay. It's going on. No, Justice League, it never, ever felt like it was too long. Now, we watched like some comparison videos between the original version of Justice League and this Zack Snyder cut of Justice League. And basically what happened is Zack Snyder left a lot of stuff in there that he had shot that helped develop characters. And so it's just like, something I guess that was needed. So also, I don't know. I think I mentioned this to Matt, but Josh Whedon is the one who did the first Justice League. He came in, of course. Zack Snyder had done it. His daughter, there was the issues concerning her, and so he left after the film was shot. Josh Whedon came in, refilmed some of the things, and put it together. Josh Whedon is problematic.
Josh Whedon.
Joss.
Joss Whedon.
I don't know why I'm saying Josh. Sorry, Josh Whedon. Joss Whedon.
Some random guy on Twitter is going to get a whole bunch of hate and be like, what the fuck?
Joss Whedon is problematic, as we've come to find out. Obviously, many people on Buffy came out against him, and then there's been people in Justice League and whatever. So he also directed an Avengers movie. Now, if you look at some of his work, you see that some of the more minor characters, he just does not give them any attention. Like, even in the Avengers, if you're a smaller character, whatever, he just doesn't even want to deal with you. Same thing happened with Justice League, because he put certain characters out of the picture, like Cyborg, completely out of the picture in his, and it's been totally restored in the Justice League, because that character is the heart of the entire movie, and there was, like, he totally took it out. Joss Whedon took that out. And so now that it's been restored, you see there's heart to it. There's feeling around it. And the end scene of the Zack Snyder cut, oh my God, amazing, amazing. Like, I have no words. Like, it's worth sitting there.
I need to go watch it, is what you're saying.
You need to watch it. I want to watch it again, actually. And that takes commitment, because it's 4 hours.
Well, it's funny, the night you watched it, I was like, I have not heard from Cody all night, which is a little weird. I usually hear from him in the evenings around midnight my time, and I hadn't heard anything like 2 a.m. my time. Hey, hope you guys had a good night. I'm like, you dead? You okay? Oh, we were watching Justice League. I'm like, oh man, a whole night of it. We probably know each other's schedules way too well. Now that I'm saying this out loud, I realize how it sounds. It sounds really stalkerish.
He just watches our security camera. Yeah, I would check it out if you haven't. See what y'all think, what your thoughts are on it. In some of those comparison videos, you see some uncomfortable parts that Joss actually had filmed that involve, like, Wonder Woman touching Batman's hand, and there being like weird, like this weird sexual tension, or like someone rubbing shoulders. Like, now that you know about him, when you see the stuff that he put in that Zach did not shoot, you're like, oh, that's weird. But clearly, I'm telling you, when you see those parts that he added or cut out, or the way he edited it,
oh
yeah. Or there's like one part where the Flash in Joss's version, the Flash lands on top of Wonder Woman, like on top of her in her outfit, because they're fighting and then they fall and he falls on her. That's what Joss shot. That is not in the Zack Snyder cut. But clearly he wanted that, awkwardness of a male person on top of a female person.
There is just such a push for that in movies, books, and it's always, I don't know if it's like growing up gay, and even when I didn't realize I was gay, whenever I would read that or see that, I just remember being like, this does not feel right. Now, when I was younger, I don't think it felt right, because I didn't really know what I was seeing. But even kids know vibes. You can't put words to it, but Then as like a teenager, an older teenager, and then young adult, it was like, that's not really comfortable. Like, that's not something, if that were me, I wouldn't want that. I'd be like, no, please don't, like, stop. It just doesn't feel, and it's always put in there as some weird trope, because it's a power play. And it's how dominance is usually shown between male and female characters in like the worst way, while underscoring a lot of the problems we have that have come out, especially in the last couple of years, in so many industries. It exists in so many industries. It exists everywhere. But seeing it when you know what you're looking at, you're like, oh, this is this, and it doesn't need to be that way. It's something that doesn't need done, but here it is.
Well, you know, then there was the other issue in Justice League once Joss took over. There was the actor who played Cyborg, played by Ray Fisher. Now, like, he was young, up and coming. He should have been huge after this movie came out. Obviously, the movie flopped, but there was behind the scenes issues. And just recently, there's been like investigations over the last year, 2 years or so. And Ray Fisher came out calling Joss Whedon's alleged abuse and his alleged abusive behavior on the set of Justice League. And obviously, when you start doing that and speaking out, sometimes it can cost you jobs in the future. But obviously, he is a black man. And again, the Cyborg character, the amount, and again, I'm saying he's the heart of the whole story, that was completely taken out. So Joss took a black man's story character out of the movie almost. People can make their own thoughts and opinions on that, but he was marginalizing women and people of color. So, you know, I don't know if Joss, I mean, hopefully he won't be getting many more jobs because of all the stuff that people are speaking out.
It's definitely made the news.
You know,
it has definitely made the news. It's I've seen several threads about it from other people just kind of coming out. I think we would need to do more of a deep dive to make sure, you know, that we're accurate, you know, when, you know, in sharing more of the problems that have come out. Because obviously the last thing you want to do is, the worst part is like if you accidentally misquote something or get something wrong and the person's already terrible, you don't want to accidentally spread misinformation because there's plenty to talk about that really happened. You
basically, he's a bad guy.
Yeah, you can go with that.
He's a bad guy. He shouldn't be doing any more movies. Jonathan said he run his biggest comfort show. Would that be Buffy? We'll wait for a moment. Buffy. I'm gonna guess that's what it is. He did some other things. They're great shows too. That's the thing that's like so frustrating. But you know, as we've discovered in
you can acknowledge
Hollywood,
that somebody does something really well somewhere else and still criticize the living shit out of them for when they do bad things or bad things get caught. You know, there's lots of people that are really talented for whatever it is that that's how they got their platform or their wealth or whatever they got. And then we learn that they're also, you know, a white supremacist or racist or, you know, homophobic. That doesn't take away from whatever talent they had, but we could still acknowledge, like, okay, yeah, it turned out they can flap their arms in the water really well, but they're also a horrible person. You can be both. Just maybe we shouldn't give a platform to that one. Let them flap their arms in peace.
Yeah.
And, you know, go live in the shadows. Did
you have anything this week, Matt, that you were reading or that you...
I'm still reading the Memoirs of Cleopatra. It's like 1,000 pages, and I haven't really felt too good this last week.
Yeah.
So among other, you know, before pre-shot. But the other thing I've been reading is my own book because I am rereading it again to fill it in some more because it is almost ready to be sent to publishers.
Oh my God, that's so exciting.
Story. So it's gotten to the point when I sit and read it, I forget that I wrote it.
Oh wow,
I can't remember both things at once. That might be it, but so I'll start reading it, and then I'm like, well, shit, what happens next? Wait, I wrote this. I know what happens next.
That is so fun.
I am literally the incarnation of, I can't find my glasses, and they're literally on my face. Like that is me. That's me. Yes, Buffy, the show meant the world to me growing up. Now knowing what he put those actresses through, the strongest piece of the show, it's hard to continue to love. Right, because you want to show the actresses love because they did, you know, they put their heart and soul into it, and it was large parts of their careers. And then to find out that they were just so horribly mistreated by somebody in a position of power, and you're like, you know, like how many people find out that one of their co-stars is secretly an awful person, and the whole project they might have spent 6 months to a year of their life away from their families working on is gonna get dust. And ouch, you know, people think that you know everything about the people you work with because they see them on screen. They might see them perform like an intimate scene together, and it's like they're coworkers.
Mhm.
Some coworkers you might know better than others, but ultimately they're coworkers. You know, like
Exactly.
But
It reminds me of when the whole issues with Kevin Spacey came out, and that he had a film, J. Paul Getty biopic, and they
yeah,
replaced him very quickly with Christopher Plummer, the late Christopher Plummer, who came in at the last minute and filmed all those scenes really quickly, and they got it out. Like it happened like in a month, and then the movie was out, which was incredible. Again, we just want to thank everybody who has joined us. We've been here now for a little hour. And so we just, again, want to thank you. We will be back on Sunday for our super late night show at 8:45 Pacific time. Of course, we have new episodes every Tuesday and Thursday on anywhere you get your podcasts, obviously. And there's video versions on YouTube. So be sure and check those out. And again, thank you for joining us. We hope you all have had a great Friday, that you'll have an enjoyable weekend. I'm going to go get a burrito in a minute and watch some
I ate a
Marvel
dozen
Disney
donuts
show.
earlier. We got a dozen donuts. We did go to Krispy Kreme. I didn't do the free donut. We just got a dozen of them because we were hungry and because we slept all night and day. Yeah. Did you see that?
Yeah. I also got donuts when Justin went to get his vaccine. I got a dozen donuts from this donut shop because we had to drive up north a little bit, and I got donuts from that donut shop, and I'm eating them like crazy. But it's good because
ours are gone. I ate the last one literally as I was logging in.
because I'm 25 BMI. Woo woo.
Are you?
Take that. The struggle of that. And I will say that you are right about the BMI, because you can have a BMI and be completely fit and have a BMI of over 25. So I have issues.
I think BMI is a big bunch of.
But whatever.
I'm not support BMI. I understand what it's being used for, but I will never support BMI being a measure of health. Mine is like 24. I'm 24 plus or something like that, and
yeah, people were shocked. I was posting. People were shocked. They were like, "What?" Because at the time it was 23.9. They were like shocked. They were like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, that's my whole point."
Right. People can be considered, another percent. I mean,
if I'm overweight, then I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm like literally 1 point from being considered overweight, but obviously my doctor is not concerned. But if you were to use the BMI scale or have a doctor that follows it, then there is a problem there, because I am fine. Like,
yeah, there is someone that
the doctor told me that's more, but it's for meds, not for meat.
Yeah, there's someone that you and me follow. I won't mention right now, but they reach 25 BMI. And they are absolutely in perfect shape. I'll tell you who it is off air, but they are in absolutely perfect shape, which makes the whole thing a little ridiculous. But hey, I'm 25 BMI. Yay. Yay, donuts. Donuts did it for me. Donuts are my diet. Anyway, we hope all of you had a great Friday with us, and we will see you on Sunday. Yes, Matt.
Yeah, thanks for everybody for joining us. We will see you Sunday night. So it's 8:45 Pacific time or 10:45 Central time. If you don't get notifications or anything, or you're not getting notified, you're supposed to be. If not, send me a DM. I will send you one, or a text message if I have your number. If not, give me your phone number, and I will send you a text message when we go live. And we will see you then.
See you Friday or Sunday. Bye.